Hey guys, I thought I would go over some things on my 955 turbo power steering pump, water pump, the brake booster line repair, I think among other stuff. I did post where I rebuilt my extra power steering pump that I had bought with 90,000 miles. But I'd like to go over some parts that I'd bought and things that other videos do not explain. So number one, there is a pipe on the side, both sides of your car, your front of your 2004 turbo, and this pipe here is on the inner fender well of each side, and you have an MAF on the top, and it connects to that three-way that goes into the choke or the manifold. So there's a couple things I'd like to bring up that is most important. Because this is a pain in the ass to remove and nobody talks about it. At least videos I've seen, it just magically is off, and I was afraid of that when I seen it. So number one, you will need one of these tools. So it's a clamp hose, one of the snap clamp hose tools. You'll need that. You could possibly use that if you can fit your hand in there and you got baby doll hands. I used my kids' hands for the first time, and I'll explain. And then also later on, I found it best to just use this to attach it. And if you had an extension on this to be able to put handles on, this might be the best tool when you're preparing this, when you're putting this back on, because you got a lot more room and everything's off. So a couple things real quick. Number one, when you are removing that so there is a hose clamp. It's one of the spring ones, the oh shit ones that you always don't get a clamp on it and you got to do it again and again. When removing that, it's extremely tight, and like I said, you might use this tool or whatever. Good luck. But when you're reinserting it, it's super important. When you're putting this pipe in, I put some silicone in that area just to loosen it up. But if you don't notice it, there is a little stop on this plastic pipe. And I didn't know what that was. And I'm just telling you, if you don't push it all the way down to that stop, I'm pretty sure that caused me to have an MAF problem, and I replaced it. And then afterwards reinstalling it, I found that I needed to push this tube all the way down inside this extra little pipe. It's a rubber pipe that goes into the turbo. Just telling you, forewarning. So there's a hose clamp. This has your standard here that goes in another plastic portion of the piping. And I think it's a 7 or 10 millimeter. Can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's a 7 though, because I believe the top sides, they are 10 millimeters. Tools you'll need. You can buy these open-end, not open-end, the reverse Torx. It's good to have open-end tools too. I didn't show that. I bought this set. This is as well. If I can show. There we go. It has that type of bit on the inside, so it's basically the same as this. And you'll need this part here. 30 millimeter for loosening the tension on the belt. I'll also talk to you about my problems with the water pump, the Continental belt. I just had endless amount of fun. And also, if you don't put in the right seal on a specific part, you're gonna pay. Like literally, your garage floor will pay, and then 40 bucks of fluid. So anyways, there's a portion of this install where I didn't have this tool, and I just had these tools, and there was no room to remove my power steering pump, the last bolt on the back end. And I ordered this tool, took a couple days. I talked to a friend that a 10 millimeter was pretty close and should work. So I put the ratcheting side in, I put an extension on it and got it loose, and then the tool showed up the next day. So probably didn't need that tool, but now I've got it. This 10 millimeter Harbor Freight Special works great. So that's the first part. So go over this a little bit. this is my first mistake that I'm trying to save you. So this is a very dirty part, and I'm actually going to rebuild it. I actually bought another set of this parts, and they're on national back order, so good luck to try to find one. But there is a pipe that connects, I think it's a return line to your reservoir, and there is a seal that goes on that pipe, and it obviously goes in here, and then you have a plate that has 10 millimeters that you remove. Now I'm just telling you, number one, clean your surface very well. Number two, I would tell you to, when you're choosing the seal, make sure you've got the right one. I had a scenario where I lost the seal that came with the kit and the original one as well, so I couldn't find it. And I was like, it won't matter. And I think I used that blue one there, just guessing because I couldn't remember the size. And all the fluid pumped out. So that sleeve that goes over it just holds it into place, and it will not hold the fluid if you do not have the right seal. So that's okay. Sorry about that, a neighbor go by. So you will not have the fluid will not stay in the reservoir or in the pump if you have the wrong seal. So this blue seal is incorrect, and I knew it was incorrect, but I had lost the other seal, and I had no idea what size it was, and I'll explain later, but I think that's the right seal. So, and just to let you know, that size seal, if you do have it and you tear it or whatever reason, they do have it at O'Reilly's. They have a package of seals, and I found one that was identical. So what I would tell you to use, and some people don't like to do this, but I'm going to do this from now on all the seals that I do. There's some, I think it's called, it's clear 3M glue that's for weather adhesive or stickers or should I say symbols, emblems that are put on. I use that glue, and I just a little dab on the tube that holds it. And then when you're pushing in, you're not going to worry about falling off, and it stays in the position and you won't damage your seal. So you can do what you want, but I'm telling you, my pain, I'm trying to help you. So that's a good portion of the job. Now I'm going to show you, I got a laser pointer. I'm going to show you where I had the pipe taken out. Obviously you have to remove the air box and kind of go over some other general information just to help you guys. Got my laser pointer working this time, and I've got my fender liner off. So in regards to that pipe I was talking to you about, where I drew on the with crayon, or not crayon, chalk, but there's this pipe, and right over here, like I said, there's a normal clamp that you tighten with a 7 or I think it's 7 millimeter clamp, not a 10. And so then that goes, and then right around in this area here, and there is a rubber hose that connects to that. And like I said, there's a stopper. If I had, let me see if I can bring it up. I really can't see it. I guess I should have done it beforehand. But before I put this, you'll have to take this air box out. And there's plenty of videos about taking this out and so forth. And make sure you reconnect that. Put a little silicone. I put silicone here and here spray. I can show you that later. But anyway, like I said, it gets really tight in there. And you got to make sure you push that all the way into that stopper. And you'll see it once this is out. And it's obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me at first time. And I didn't push it all the way into that rubber hose. And the hose is, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches long. So it's not very long at all. And it's about maybe a little bit wider than your thumb diameter. Maybe about a thumb and a half. All right, let's go to the top side. So I thought that was important to go over. Well, I thought I would go over my pipe situation. So when I was taking this apart, this pipe here is a pretty expensive pipe. I broke some of the piping, and I think it's very common. So I used a heater hose pipe. Bought this, I don't know, foot length at O'Reilly's, and it was probably $1. I don't know. So I have these fuel rail clamps that are not exactly, so they just they don't have teeth on them. And put a little silicone in there. I cut them with a tool that I use to cut fuel lines, and give me a clean cut. And then you have your filter here. So you notice I put arrows on that filter. Very important. So that so that's a check valve. It's not a filter, it's a check valve. And you want the air to go up to there. So the direction goes like this, and that's where the arrows show. Okay, so second, nobody really talks about, there's another, let me see if I can show you. Oops. This pipe right here. So there's a pipe, and I think it's for your, I'd heard it's for your fresh air, for your suspension. You need to pop. There's a little green cap. I don't have one anymore. Hoping to go to the junkyard and find one, because I have no idea what the part number is. And you pop it off to the right, and then there is what I would call a sealing ring. And basically, if I recall, you need to push it inward, and then your pipe should come off. It's like a force ring. And it's very fragile. A lot of people I've seen taking them off, there's breaks, at least two teeth breaks off. And yep, 2 teeth broke off of mine, and I beat the crap out of the green cover that holds it in place. And yeah, I wasn't too happy about it. So airbox, pretty simple. So this airbox, this side versus this side, this side's easy to take apart. This one's a lot more complicated. There's a lot, like I said, there you 2 pipes here in a way. You got a coolant line going, and so it's just a pain in the butt. So if you notice, I haven't put my pretty parts back on, but you got your reservoirs, 10 millimeter. I think that's 10 millimeter too. That takes that off. There's plenty of videos about taking off these and breaking them, like I do. And they're, like I said, other things that are tough. So on this pipe, let me see here. Can't see it. Oh, yeah. So let me turn on the flashlight. So you see down there's a screw that's yellow, right there. That is very difficult to remove, and there's 2 of them. The last person that worked on this car, I think it's a Porsche dealer, they left the other one off on the right side. Left side I left in. To be honest, once you get all this back together and you have your reinforcement arms underneath that keeps it up, you don't need that other screw. And so I can see why the other guy did. So a person. So this one has 2. You can get them off very easily. It's not a problem at all. This one on this side here, on the right side, you'd have to remove the engine to get it out. Would be my best guess, or just break the crap out of it when you're removing it. I don't know. I would tell you, when removing this setup for the power steering, I would tell you to remove your fan. It's pretty darn easy to do. I watched a few videos out there. Nobody really had a good video on it, other than a guy that posted it for a Touareg, or no, it was an Audi. And very simple, but I don't know if you can see it because of all this junk. Yeah, no, that right there, which again is hard to see because of all the piping. Basically, you just get a screwdriver in, you'll see the lip, and you push it in, raise one side up, go to the other side, push it in, and then kind of jiggle it in, and it'll come out. What I can tell you is, if you can't get this coolant line on this side down here, was right here, off, which I never could, it makes it very difficult to remove this fan. And so I kind of had to wedge it with the screwdriver to get it past a certain point with the fan. So if you notice, there's a lot of tight areas. I'm trying to think of other challenges. Oh, so the belt. When I put the Continental belt on, I looped it all the way through, and released the tensioner with a 30 millimeter bolt, or with a ratchet, and the belt was virtually this far away. And so I read some surveys, and people had said the Continental belt's too short. You need to use a Deku or Delu belt. I went and bought a Delu, but then I was like, you know what? I want to try one thing before I put on this other belt, because I already pretty much got it weaved through. So I seen a video where somebody had put his on at the end, just right underneath the water pump. And I tried that, and it was still very difficult. And I was like, you know what? By accident, while I was putting it all together, on the air conditioner, on the front of the air conditioner, there's like an extra sitting spot on it. And it's almost like another pulley that turns with the pulley itself. And what I did was, I just set it on that. It may have been bad on my bearing on my air conditioner, but I'm like, I'm just going to try. And so I let it sit there for about 3 or 4 hours. And it was a little bit warmer that day. It was in the 70s instead of cold 30 degrees. And I said, okay, I'm going to try it again. I tried it. I said, if it doesn't fit this time, I let it stretch off just the side of that air conditioner. And I released the tension. And it went on like butter. I mean, I was shocked. And so I got to take that Deku or Delu back. So, but just words of wisdom. You can put on the Continental, you just need to stretch it. And I stretched it. I tried many avenues or angles. I tried to put it a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other. I mean, I tried 2 or 3 hours. I just couldn't get it on. And then finally, I just, by accident, it seemed like it just caught itself on the air conditioner at the bottom corner while I had everything else weaved on, and it stretched it, and it's golden. It's on. So let's other things to talk about. Talked about my screw up with the washer. Oh, so when I guess when you buy a water pump, make sure it comes with a gasket. Mine said with gasket on the box. It didn't have one. So what did I do? I called around. Nobody had a gasket, so I just got some red RTV and reused the metal gasket again. I think it's fine. It's not leaking. Not yet, at least. And I've driven at least 800 miles, and there's been no problems that I know of yet. Let's see here. Some other little things. So I've still got to put the belly pan back on and some other stuff. Heat shields that I took off when I did the tranny fluid replacement. Trying to think of other things I broke. Oh, so when I was putting in the power steering or the water pump, I had noticed that one of the screws, I think it's called a Healy coil, was in it, and it didn't stay. So I think there's like 9 bolts in it. Mine now has 8, and I put some white tape on the end of the bolt and screwed it in, and it seemed to hold decent, but not great. So whoever originally what other mechanic put this in, stripped out one of my bolts, and was kind of pissed about that. Other things to note. We talked about the gaskets. We talked about strip screw. So you got to be careful. Don't use hand tools there. Don't use electric tools. Use hand tools so you can fill it better and not strip anything out, which I'm assuming the dealership did because of this time is money. Trying to think of other little problems I had. Talked about gaskets, using the right gaskets. The power steering fluid is 11S. It comes in a green can. It's very expensive, so dumping out $40 or $33 wasn't fun. The coolant I used was Peak. Let me see here. It's Peak antifreeze coolant 50/50. I had Porsche, and it's pink too. Somebody had given me that, and just decided to use all the same brand. So I flushed it. Oh, so like I said, I could never get, see here, that pipe right here off. I tried and tried, then I tried to get it off there. There's just no room. I was able to get this one off. So what I did was, and I seen somebody in a video that did this, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. He said, don't do it, but I'm like, I have no other, I want to make sure it's flush. So I got a vacuum and used the blow side, connected to that. I had some the hose. I had a Harbor Freight kit that you fill coolant with, and I basically used one of those rubber seals, plugged it in there, turned it on, and the fluid started shooting out over here. And so I'm like, did I get it all? So then I got a gallon of distilled water, filled it up, put the blow hose in there again for my, I don't know, it's 2.5 gallon little bitty shop vac. Did on the blow side 2 gallon, and the water started coming out. My son said it was clear, so I knew that it was getting cleaned out. And so when I took that water pump off, there was really nothing that came out. It was pretty much, I blew it all out. So I think it was a win. While I really wanted to take off that pipe, I didn't think it was worth breaking. And so note to self, when removing that, you got to give it a little good little wiggle, but getting it back in, you got to get it in the right position, because basically that snap ring is holding that in place, and the other, so that needs to go into the groove. And if you don't get in a groove, it'll pop right off, and you'll know right off the bat if you start your car and drive down the road, it just shoot off. Other things to talk about. So talked about using the right. So the high pressure hose is a pain in an ass. I was so aggravated and mad the first time. I was bruised up, had just dirty, bruised. You're like, how in the heck does this thing get back in there? Well, I would tell you to get some silicone spray, spray it up. And then I'd also tell you to get duct tape or something to cover the threadings of that high pressure line, because you will possibly damage it. And I was worried about that because there's some tight areas. I would tell you the best to start, connect your hose here first and then work your way. I tried to do reverse order and it just wouldn't work. I'm just telling you, start from the front end of the engine and then work your way back. And it's probably good to have an extra person. Let's see if I can show you. So there's a point right in here, if I recall. I'm kind of forgetting now, I'm getting old, but there's a point where there's a line that goes through in there, and you'll see it when you're underneath the car. And it's good to have another hand to be able to pull back the extra lines. I'm not sure what those lines are for, and you can find you'll be able to get that one power steering hose through that really tight gap, and this extra silicone you sprayed on it helps. And then you'll need, I think it's, don't quote me on it, 17 millimeter, and I also used an open end fuel line or fuel wrenches too. That helps, because when you're trying to loosen it or tighten it back, it always seems like you don't have the right angle. And the other type of flared, what are they called, crows or fuel open end wrenches helped allow me to tighten it, and it took forever. And at some point I was wondering if it was ever going to go in, because you just don't know, and you have to be at the right angle to screw them in. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's fantastic. So I think this is helpful. Like I said, take a lot of good pictures. And before you start removing stuff, I didn't. I had to borrow some pictures from a guy named Rick. He had previously done a power steering pump, and I think he was more organized than me. Well, he was, because he didn't have to go in there a couple times. He did it once. A little frustrating. So, and yeah. I had to buy. So this hose here goes down and under, and there's two of these. There's one that has a heat sleeve on it. If you breathe on them, they're going to break. So I would tell you, at minimum, if it was me, if I was working down in that area around the power steering pump, it's really, really difficult to get it removed. And getting that pipe off, you're probably, and also you'll probably hit it when you're removing the fan. You're going to probably break one of the two pipes, or both, and I broke both. I would at least tell you to order the one that flares up, and that would be the one with the heat shield on it. I would order that one and have it ready, and if you need the car the next day. If not, you'll be waiting because it takes a while for that to get delivered. I think it took 2 or 3 days for me. So if I wouldn't have broke a lot of parts, it would have went quicker. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, think about what you're doing. This parts were available, but a lot of these special parts, these hoses, I was actually trying to figure out a way to repair them, but do you really want to repair something you have to go back in and do it again? And that was a big no to me. I did not want to screw with it again. So the job is done. I'm happy it's done. I don't want to do it anytime soon again. I'm happy now. So the water pump's done, the power steering pump's done, new coolant, new air filter here. They ran out. I didn't put one in there yet, so I got to put a new air filter there. I did the tranny fluid replacement. The other part of the four-wheel drive system, I forget what you call it, I replaced that fluid. So I'm pretty sure this puppy of 220-some thousand miles is ready for the next. So I'm gonna work on putting the cosmetic stuff back on, you know, your pretty parts. And then put the bottom belly pan on and the inner fender that's left out. You want to put the inner fender in sooner or later because that water and debris just starts building up and you'll have a headlight failure. Don't ask me why I know that, because I left mine off previously for about a year and started having headlight problems. So don't do that. And also, you'll notice that I got a kind of rig set up here because when I was taking the headlight out, the plastic piece broke. I did a video on that. So if you would please be so kind to subscribe. It's helpful for me. And also I make these videos just to give me a reminder of how I did things, to help me, and also to provide some pointers that I know there's 3 or 4 videos out here that shows how to do this, and I wish I could have did the video with me doing it all together, but it is a pain job. Anyway, I want to say special thanks to Rick. I think his name's Parts Geek. Oh no, not Parts Geek. 955 Geek. And he helped out a lot. Like I said, he provided some pictures for me and some moral support. But anyway, good luck if you're getting ready to do this job, power steering. It is worth it. I was leaking pretty bad. I was using, what is that? For the first year, it worked pretty good with this Lucas. Worked out pretty good, but they started making a huge spot, and it wasn't working, especially in the colder environment. It just, you know, in Indiana weather, it just wasn't good. So good luck to you. Water pump, check your parts, make sure you got everything there. I just assumed, and I had a lot of the parts ready to rock, but there's always something, you know, the needle that broke was the straw that broke the camel's back. I always seem to have some little small problem, but made through it, and good luck to everyone. Bye.